Welcome back to the worst channel on all of YouTube. I'm DipperGames420 and today we're going to be taking a look at the Figuarts Perfect Cell Event Exclusive Color Edition. He was one of the 3 exclusives to be released for 2018 at a retail price, I think, of about $60. And I guess other than that, he was one of the first to be marked as an event exclusive as opposed to an SDCC exclusive. And he's also one in the first batch of exclusives, because for every single year prior to 2018, Tamashii were exclusively releasing one convention figure. So more often than not, you just see one SDCC figure a year, and that was it. No New York or anything like that. But me divulging into spurgy details aside, let's move on to his box. The box is what you'd expect out of an event exclusive these days, but for the time it was completely new. You get this really nice green line trace art of Cell on the front in monochrome colors with a black background. The red Bandai Tamashii Nations event exclusive Dragon Ball Z logos, because by this point they hadn't changed the blue yet. Bandai 2018 made in China. Then we also get Figuarts Perfect Cell event exclusive color edition on the front, picture of him on the side in the same line trace style, as well as the Figuarts Dragon Ball Z logos and his name again. A whole bunch of product shots of him on the back, and if you want to read any of the blurbs, go ahead and pause to read them, because I'm not going to do it for you, you lazy ass. Warnings and shit on the bottom. The other side, you get Figuarts, picture Cell, and Perfect Cell event exclusive color edition. On the very bottom, you have a picture of Cell as well as his name. And up top, we have S.H.Figuarts' new standard figure series that uses the art style of Bandai action figures to successfully pursue character expression through humanoid action. That's really all there is to the box, so let's get Cell out of his box. As is routine for the repaints at this point, I'm not going to waste any of your time, and I'm just going to get right into the only comparison that I think was actually worth a damn with this figure. Here's the event exclusive Cell standing next to the original, and yeah, honestly, there really isn't much to say here. It's kind of obvious that these are going for 2 completely different things here. The event exclusive version is going for the manga, where the original version is going for the more desaturated anime look that Tamashii were doing back in the 2010s for whatever reason. I think it was just trying to match the video games that were coming out around the time. That's really all there is to say as far as comparisons go. It's kind of obvious what the differences are if you take a quick glance at them, so instead of wasting any more time here, let's take a look at his paint. Not really much of his sculpt. So moving on to the paint, I'd say this figure looks really good. What they were going for and the limitations of this particular body mold. The only thing that I'd say is worth noting here is the plastic feels much better than the original. It's obviously hard to convey that on camera, but this guy just feels a lot heavier in hand compared to the original. The coloring they went with on this guy is obviously based off the manga, where you can see he has like the blue on the insides of his torso and his arms and shit, as opposed to the purple that the original had. And then he's also got a sort of silvery gunmetal kind of color on his back and on the otherwise black areas of his body, and honestly, to say it looks pretty good. Really the only issue that I'm noticing with this guy is a lack of shading for most of his body. There's a little bit in this area right here. I think that looks pretty cool, but I think a little more shading would have done this guy some favors. Overall, I don't think he looks too bad, given what they had to work with this figure. And since we're not going over articulation this time around, the only noteworthy difference between this guy and the original is that everything is tighter. Not necessarily to a squeaky extent, like be concerned or anything, but it's much sturdier than the original. That's all there is to say on the paint, so let's move into his accessories. Quickly running through Cell's accessories, it's exactly the same as the original. You get the Kamehameha effect, which thankfully doesn't reek of death this time around. Doesn't have the same awful chemical smell that the original had. This time around though, the base has no shading on it, and the Kamehameha beam is completely clear. That's a fine effect piece, gets the job done. Pretty solid for the mold they were going with. And you also get two interchangeable faces, the smirk and the yelling face, as well as a pair of folded arms, which this time around are thankfully a lot easier to put on. And then you also get 3 additional pairs of hands, the open palm key blast, style pose, and Kamehameha hands. So really that's all there is for the event exclusive cell. So let's move on to my final thoughts. So at the end of the day, what do I think of the event exclusive cell? He isn't quite there yet, but he's slightly more perfect than the original. The joints are much more stable on this one. The plastic is heavier in hand, and you get pretty much everything the original came with. The only downside for most people would probably be the manga colors and the wonky proportions, because he's still not quite there yet. But if you're a Cell fan in need of a decent figure and you have the money, then yeah, this would probably be a solid figure to stand in for however long it's going to be till Tamashii decides to get off their asses and make a 3.0. Side note, it actually is kind of shocking, the fact that Tamashii have done everything in their power to not remake this guy. They've repainted him like 2 separate times, but they haven't remade him, and they haven't re-released him since this particular version. So that's great. Hopefully they make a standard release version, but I'm not holding my breath there. This is a pretty solid figure. I'd say if you can find one for around $100 or so, then jump him, because it's completely worth the money. This has been Dipper Games 420, and I'll see you guys next time.